The night was calm in the small human colony, far away on a distant planet. The stars above were brighter than any streetlight, and the cool wind moved softly through the quiet houses. Inside one small home, a family sat around a wooden table. Their dinner was simple: bread, stew, and a few pieces of fruit. It was not much, but enough to fill their stomachs. After long days of hard work in the fields, they were grateful for even this little food. The father leaned back in his chair, tired but peaceful. The mother began to collect the dishes, humming softly. Their young daughter, no more than 10 years old, licked the last bit of stew from her spoon and smiled. It was an ordinary evening, just like many before it. Nothing suggested that this night would be remembered forever. Then came the knock. It was not loud, but it was sharp. 3 quick taps on the wooden door. The sound cut through the quiet, making the family freeze. No one visited this late. In the colony, people respected the night hours. Doors stayed closed and families stayed inside. Visitors after dark often meant trouble. The father frowned and glanced at the door. His wife's humming stopped at once. Their daughter stared wide-eyed. The knock came again, this time softer, almost as if the person outside was afraid. Slowly, the father stood and walked toward the door. His hand hovered over the latch. Something deep inside warned him not to open it, but curiosity and duty pushed him forward. Carefully, he pulled the door open. On the other side stood 3 children. They were thin, their clothes ragged and torn. Dust covered their faces and their eyes were hollow as if they had not eaten for days. One boy, taller than the rest, stepped forward. His voice trembled, but he spoke clearly. "Please, we are hungry. We don't need much. Only your leftovers." The father's heart tightened. He looked at the children carefully. They were strangers, not from his street. Maybe not even from his part of the colony. Where had they come from? Why were they alone in the night? Behind him, his wife gasped softly. She hurried forward, pulling her shawl tighter around her shoulders. She had seen hungry people before, but there was something different about these children. Their eyes were not only tired, they were afraid. The mother whispered, "Leftovers? Why not ask for bread or fruit?" The boy lowered his head. "We cannot be seen with full food. Leftovers are safer." The father felt a chill. His daughter peeked from behind his leg, staring at the strange children. She wanted to ask questions, but fear kept her quiet. For a moment, silence filled the doorway. The father thought about the rules of the colony. Food was counted carefully by the alien overseers who ruled this world. Sharing food without permission was dangerous. If caught, humans could lose their rations or worse. Yet here were children asking for scraps, asking in the middle of the night. The father finally nodded. "Wait here." He stepped back inside, his wife already gathering what little remained from dinner. A half piece of bread, some stew in the pot, fruit skins with bits still left. She placed them carefully in a small bowl. Her hands shook as she worked. When the father brought the food outside, the children grabbed it quickly, eating as if they had not tasted anything for days. Their small hands moved fast, their eyes darting around the dark street as if they feared someone was watching. The father's chest grew heavy. He wanted to ask questions, to demand answers, but he stayed quiet. Something told him the truth was bigger than he was ready for. The oldest child finally looked up. His lips were stained with stew, but his eyes were serious. He spoke in a whisper, almost too soft to hear. "You should not waste food. You should not show kindness at night. The outsiders, they don't allow it." The words hit the father like cold water. He wanted to ask, "What outsiders?" But before he could speak, the children froze. Far above the colony, a strange sound filled the air. A deep metallic hum, like heavy wings moving against the sky. The sound was distant but growing louder. The children's faces went pale. They pushed the bowls back toward the father, their eyes wide with terror. "Hide us," the smallest one whispered, clutching the father's arm. The father turned his eyes upward. Between the stars, a red light flickered. It moved slowly, scanning the rooftops of the colony. The peaceful night was gone. The ordinary family dinner was forgotten. Something had begun, something that would change everything. And it had started with nothing more than a knock at the door. The red light in the sky moved slowly, like an eye searching the ground. The father shut the door quickly and pressed his back against it. The children inside huddled close together, breathing hard, their thin bodies shaking with fear. The mother put her hand on her daughter's shoulder, whispering for her to stay quiet. For a long moment, no one spoke. The humming sound of the drone outside filled the air, steady and cold like the heartbeat of some giant machine. The father finally turned toward the strange visitors. "Who are you?" he asked in a low voice. "Why did you come here?" The oldest boy looked at him, eyes dark and serious. "We had no choice. We were hungry. But more than that." "We needed to warn you." "Warn us?" the mother repeated. "About what?" The boy swallowed hard. He glanced toward the window where the red glow moved across the night. His voice was barely above a whisper. "The outsiders. They control everything. They do not want humans to share food. If they see kindness, they see danger. And when they see danger, they punish." The youngest child, a little girl with tangled hair, pulled at the boy's sleeve. Her voice trembled as she added, "If they know we ate here, they will come for you too." The father frowned, confusion mixing with fear. Why? Why would they care if a few children ate scraps? The middle child, a thin boy with sharp eyes, finally spoke for the first time. "Because kindness spreads. One family shares, then another. Soon no one obeys their rules. That is why they watch us. That is why we hide." The mother pressed a hand to her mouth. The truth in the boy's words was heavy. She had seen neighbors vanish before. Sometimes whole families disappeared in the night, leaving only empty homes behind. The officials always said it was disease or resettlement. But now she wondered, was it something else? The daughter, still frightened but curious, leaned closer to the strange children. "Where are your parents?" she asked softly. The oldest boy's face hardened. "Gone. Taken by the outsiders." His voice cracked as he said the words, but his eyes stayed strong. "We live by moving from house to house, from shadow to shadow. Only when someone is brave enough to give leftovers do we survive." The father's jaw tightened. He looked at the mother. Both of them understood the risk. Harboring these children even for one night could bring destruction on their family, yet sending them back into the darkness felt unthinkable. Before he could decide, the metallic hum outside grew louder. The red light shone brighter through the cracks in the window. The youngest child whimpered, clutching the mother's arm. "They are searching," the boy said quickly. "You must hide us now!" The father hurried across the room, pulling aside a rug that covered a small hatch in the floor. It led to a storage pit where grain and tools were kept. He waved the children inside. One by one they crawled down into the darkness, their eyes wide with fear. As the last child disappeared below, the boy paused. He looked up at the father and whispered urgently, "Do not tell them we were here. And do not waste food. The outsiders fear what happens when humans remember who they are." The father's heart pounded. He wanted to ask more, but there was no time. The drone outside stopped directly above the house. A sharp beam of red light shot through the window, scanning the room. The father slammed the hatch shut and dragged the rug back into place just as the mother pulled their daughter close. The beam moved across the walls, over the table, across the family's frightened faces. A cold, mechanical voice echoed from above. "Report extra mouths. Report shared food." The father forced his face calm, though his insides were burning with fear. "No extras here," he said firmly. "Just my family. Nothing more." Silence followed. The beam lingered for a long, terrifying moment. Then, as suddenly as it had come, the red light vanished. The hum drifted away into the night sky. The family stayed frozen, barely breathing until the sound was gone. Only then did the father lift the rug again. The three children climbed out, pale but alive. The mother hurried to them, checking their faces, brushing dust from their hair as if they were her own. The oldest boy looked at the family with gratitude, but also urgency. They will return. They always return. And next time they may not leave so quickly. The father asked again, more firmly this time. "Who are you really? Why do they fear you so much?" The boy hesitated. He glanced at his younger companions. Then he reached into the pocket of his torn coat and pulled out something small. In the dim light, it glowed faintly like a tiny star held in his hand. The mother gasped. The daughter leaned closer, eyes wide with wonder. The father felt the air grow colder, heavier, as if the object carried power beyond understanding. The boy closed his fingers around the glow and whispered, "This is why. This is our secret, and it is the reason they will never stop hunting us." The room fell silent again. The family understood only one thing. Their lives had just changed forever. The glow in the boy's hand faded as he quickly slipped the strange object back into his pocket. But the memory of that light lingered in the room, filling the family with silent questions. What was it? Why did it shine like a star? And why did the aliens, the outsiders, fear it so much? The father wanted to demand answers, but before he could speak, the metallic hum returned. This time it was louder, heavy. Not just one drone, many. The mother rushed to the window and carefully pulled the curtain back only a finger's width. Her breath caught in her throat. Above the colony, 5 red lights floated in formation. They moved slowly, scanning the rooftops, their beams cutting through the night like knives of fire. "They are looking for us," whispered the oldest boy. His voice trembled, though he tried to sound brave. "They know we stopped here. They can smell kindness." The daughter pressed close to her mother. "Why are they here?" "Why do they hate you?" The boy's face was pale. "Because we remember the old ways. We know something they fear, and if too many people learn the truth, their control is gone." The father clenched his fists. He had heard stories before, whispers that the alien empire ruled not only with machines but also with fear. He had seen neighbors give up food, children even hope, simply because the outsiders demanded it. But this was the first time the truth felt so close. Suddenly, a beam of red light fell directly on their house. The walls glowed faintly as the drone outside circled lower, humming with menace. The ground itself seemed to tremble. The mother pulled the daughter back, but the father stood tall. He knew they could not hide forever. "Stay quiet," he said firmly. "Do not move." The drone descended, its body like a giant metal insect, its wings spinning with sharp sound. A single red eye glowed at its center. It hovered outside the door, scanning, searching. Then the cold voice returned, deeper this time, echoing from multiple machines above. "Report. Extra mouths detected. Report." The father's heart pounded. He had lied once already, but now the machines had grown suspicious. If they broke inside, they would find the children. And then the punishment would fall not only on the visitors but on his entire family. The oldest boy stepped forward suddenly. His hand brushed the pocket where the glowing stone rested. His eyes met the father's. "If they come inside, they will see us. And if they see us, they will kill us all. What can we do?" The mother whispered, desperate. The boy hesitated, then lowered his voice. "I can use it. But once I do, they will know where we are. They will send more. Many more." The father's breath caught. He didn't even know what it was. But the way the boy spoke, firm, sure, made him believe. He had to make a choice. Risk exposure now or risk destruction later. Before he could answer, the drone slammed against the door. The wooden frame shook. Splinters cracked. The family gasped as the red eye shone brighter, filling the cracks with burning light. "Report," the machine demanded again, voice sharp as thunder. The boy no longer waited. He pulled the stone from his pocket and held it high. The glow burst forth, brighter than before, spilling across the room in waves of blue-white fire. It was not like the harsh light of the drones. It was warm, living, almost like sunlight remembered. The drone outside screeched. Sparks flashed across its metal body as the light touched it. For the first time, the machine faltered. Its wings stuttered, its red eye blinked wildly. Then, with a violent shudder, it dropped from the sky and crashed onto the ground with a hiss of smoke. The family gasped. The daughter's eyes widened with awe. The mother clutched her chest. The father stepped back, stunned. A single glowing stone had just brought down a weapon of the Empire. But outside, the hum grew louder. The other drones had noticed. Their red lights blazed brighter, circling closer. The air filled with their mechanical cries. "They know now," the boy said grimly. "We have to move. If we stay, they will destroy this house and everyone inside it." The father finally found his voice. "What is that thing? What have you brought here?" The boy met his gaze, his voice steady. "It is not only a stone. It is memory. It is power. Long ago, humans made it. The outsiders fear it because it can shut down their machines, and because it reminds us of what we once were." The words shook the father more than the drone's crash. Humans had once created power strong enough to fight back. Could it be true? The boy nodded toward the door. "You helped us. Now you must choose. Hide in fear, or walk with us. The outsiders will not forgive kindness. They will not forget what happened tonight." The mother clutched her daughter, torn between terror and hope. The father looked at the broken drone outside, smoke still rising from its twisted body. For the first time in years, he felt something stirring inside him. Not just fear, but defiance. But the choice was not only his. Above them, the red lights of the watchers burned brighter, closing in, and the night was only just beginning. Smoke still rose from the broken drone outside, its red eye dim and lifeless. But in the dark sky above, the other watchers circled closer, their humming louder, sharper, filled with anger. The family stood frozen inside their small home, hearts pounding as the glowing stone flickered in the boy's hand. The father felt his throat dry. He had never seen a machine of the Outsiders fall before. People whispered that the alien machines were eternal, unstoppable, unbreakable. But tonight one had crashed at his doorstep. And now the boy was looking at him, waiting for a decision. "You must choose," the boy said firmly, his voice calm despite the chaos outside. "If you keep us here, the Outsiders will destroy your home. If you send us away, we may survive, but you will still be punished." They already know food was shared. The mother gasped. She looked at the father, fear in her eyes. "What are we supposed to do? If we run, they will see us. If we hide, they will burn us alive." The daughter tugged at her father's sleeve, her small voice trembling. "Please, Papa, don't let them hurt the children. They are like me." The father's heart broke at her words. He looked at the three strangers, so thin, so tired, yet carrying something powerful enough to shake the empire itself. He thought of the old stories he had heard as a boy, stories of humans who once stood tall, who built machines of their own, who fought against the dark. Could it be true? Was it possible that kindness, something as simple as sharing food, could spark such fear in their rulers? Outside, the machines cried louder. One beam of red light burned across the roof, setting the wooden beams glowing with heat. Time was running out. The boy stepped forward. "If you stand with us, you will be hunted. But if you do nothing, they will still destroy you." The Outsiders never forgive mercy. They fear it. The father clenched his fists. He was a simple man, a farmer, not a fighter. Yet tonight the world had forced him to decide. Stay silent, or defy. He looked at his wife. Her eyes were wet with fear, but she nodded faintly. She understood. Survival had never been guaranteed in this colony. But to die for kindness, that was something different. The father drew a long breath. "We choose to stand." The boy's eyes flickered with relief. He opened his hand and the glowing stone pulsed stronger, as if it had heard the choice. The light spread across the walls, painting the small room with waves of blue-white glow. Suddenly the house shook. A drone slammed against the roof, breaking tiles and wood. Another voice echoed through the night, mechanical and cruel. "Report." Extra mouths confirmed. "Resistance detected. Punishment authorized." The mother cried out and pulled her daughter close. The father grabbed a heavy farming tool from the corner, an iron hook, dull with age but still solid. His hands trembled, but his eyes burned. The boy raised the stone higher. The glow spread through the windows, spilling into the street. The other drones shrieked as the light touched them, their red eyes flickering. But this time they did not fall so easily. They pulled back, circling higher, scanning for weakness. "They are calling more," the boy warned. "They will not stop until they burn this place to the ground." "We must leave now." "Where?" the mother asked desperately. "To the caves," the boy answered. "The Outsiders' machines cannot follow underground. The resistance hides there." The father froze. Resistance. The word sounded impossible, dangerous, yet strangely alive. People whispered about it, but no one ever admitted knowing where it was. Yet here was a boy carrying proof, offering a path. Before he could speak, the red light returned, this time stronger. The machines fired beams at the street, melting stone and burning earth. The entire colony would soon wake to destruction. The boy shouted, "Now!" The father opened the door. Smoke and heat rushed inside, but so did the cool night wind. The three children ran first, slipping through shadows like ghosts. The family followed close behind. The father carried his tool, the mother carried her daughter, and above them the watchers screamed like metal birds of prey. One drone dove low, firing a beam that scorched the ground only a step from the youngest child. The boy lifted the stone, blasting the machine with light. It wobbled but did not fall. The glow flickered weakly as if the stone itself was tiring. "They are learning," the boy gasped. "They will adapt. We cannot fight them here." The family and the children sprinted into the narrow paths between the houses. Fires spread along the rooftops. Alarms rang through the colony and terrified faces appeared in windows. People shouted, asking what had happened, but no one dared to come outside. Finally, at the edge of the colony, they reached the dark hills. The father looked back one last time. His home was burning. Red lights tore across the sky. The colony he had known all his life was no longer safe. The boy touched his arm. "You chose well. Tonight you became part of something larger. The outsiders will hunt us, but they will never forget the family who said yes." The father stared at the glowing stone. His choice had already been made, but now he felt the weight of it pressing on his shoulders. He was no longer only a farmer. He was a man who had defied the watchers above, and in the silent caves waiting ahead, the true fight was about to begin. The hills swallowed them in darkness as they left the burning colony behind. The air smelled of smoke and fear, but also of something else, change. The father held his daughter close while the mother followed with heavy steps, glancing back at the red lights tearing across the sky. Above, the watchers circled the colony like predators, but they did not follow into the hills. For now, the family was safe. The 3 children led the way, moving quickly through narrow paths that twisted between jagged rocks. The oldest boy still carried the glowing stone in his pocket, though its light was hidden. From time to time, he touched it, as if to make sure it was still there. His face was pale, but his eyes were sharp, focused on survival. Finally, they reached a dark opening in the rocks. It looked like nothing more than a crack, but when the boy stepped inside, it opened into a wide tunnel. The father hesitated, but the boy's voice was steady. "Come, they will not find us here." The family entered the cave. The air was cool and damp, carrying the smell of earth and stone. Shadows stretched across the walls, broken only by faint blue marks scratched into the rock. The mother noticed them first. "What are these?" she whispered. The boy touched one of the markings. "Signs. The resistance leaves them to guide us. Humans who refuse to bow to the outsiders hide here. They keep hope alive." The father's chest tightened. Resistance, the word felt heavy. He had always believed it was a rumor, something whispered by desperate people. Yet here in the dark cave it felt real. They walked deeper until the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber. At once faint lights flickered to life, small fire lamps made from stone and oil. The chamber was not empty. Other humans were already there, thin and ragged like the children, but alive. Some sat against the walls, some whispered together, and some watched the new arrivals with cautious eyes. The children rushed forward, greeted with quiet nods and tired smiles. The oldest boy turned back to the family. "You helped us. That means you are with us now." The father's voice was low. "With you? Or trapped with you?" The boy shook his head. "You chose kindness. That choice cannot be undone. The outsiders will never forgive it. From now on, you must decide whether to fear them or fight them." The mother's hands trembled as she clutched her daughter. "We are farmers. We are not fighters." A voice rose from the shadows. "Neither were we." An older man stepped into the light. His beard was gray, his eyes sharp but tired. He wore no uniform, only patched clothes, but he carried himself with quiet strength. He studied the family carefully. "I am called Marin," he said. "Once I worked the fields. Once I obeyed every order. But the outsiders took my son. They said he ate food that was not his. Since that day I have not obeyed." The father lowered his eyes. He knew this pain too well. Everyone in the colony had lost someone. The outsiders always had a reason: rations, rules, punishment. But the truth was simple. They ruled through fear. Marin's voice grew stronger. "We hide in the caves, but hiding is not enough. Every act of kindness is a spark. Every time humans share food, protect each other, or refuse to bow, the outsiders lose power. That is why they fear us. That is why they watch." The boy stepped forward, holding up the glowing stone. At once the chamber filled with its light. The resistance members gasped softly, their faces lit with awe. "This," the boy said, "is what they fear most. A memory of what humans once built. Long ago we shaped the stars. We had machines stronger than theirs. This stone is a fragment, but even a fragment is enough to hurt them. Tonight it brought down one of their drones. Imagine what many stones could do." The father stared at the glow. For the first time, the impossible seemed possible. He had seen it with his own eyes, the mighty drone crashing to the ground. Fear still pressed on him, but now it mixed with something else. Anger. The daughter, small but fearless in her curiosity, whispered, "Papa, if humans were strong before, why not again?" The mother brushed her hair gently, tears in her eyes. "Because we forgot," she said softly. Marin raised his hand. "But we can remember." His eyes swept across the chamber. "The outsiders think fear is enough to keep us silent. But fear breaks when humans stand together. That is the spark of defiance. And once it burns, it cannot be stopped." A low rumble shook the cave. Dust fell from the ceiling. The watchers were still above, searching, punishing. But inside the chamber a new sound began, a whisper of voices, then stronger, then louder. Humans first. Humans together. Humans will rise. The family looked around them. For the first time, they were not alone in their fear. They were part of something greater. The boy held the stone higher, its light blazing brighter. The father placed his hand over his daughter's, his voice was steady. If this is the path, then we will walk it. No more hiding, no more silence. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. The spark of defiance had caught fire. Above the hills, the outsiders still circled, blind to what was happening below. They believed fear was enough. They did not see the light spreading in the dark, or the humans who were ready to rise again. But soon, they would. The chamber glowed with the light of the strange stone. Its blue-white fire danced across the walls, casting long shadows of the humans who had gathered there. For a moment they all stood in silence, staring at the boy who held it high. Then whispers filled the air. Fear, hope, wonder. The father felt his chest tighten as he watched the light. He had seen the stone destroy a drone, a machine he once thought untouchable. That power had shaken his world, but now he wanted more than awe, he wanted answers. What is it really? He asked, his voice low but firm. What makes that stone so strong? The boy looked at him with steady eyes. It is not just a stone. It is a piece of what humans were before the outsiders came. Long ago, our people built machines that touched the stars. We shaped fire, air, and even light. The outsiders feared us, so they struck when we were divided. They broke our cities, scattered us into colonies, and erased our history. They told us we were weak, until we believed it. The mother shook her head slowly, her hands still holding her daughter close. That cannot be true. If humans were so strong, why did we lose? A quiet voice answered from the corner. It was Marin, the old man of the resistance. He stepped closer, his face hard with memory. Because power is nothing without unity. Humans fought each other while the outsiders watched. And when they came, we were too busy fighting ourselves to fight them. That is how empires fall. That is how we fell, the boy nodded. But not all was lost. Some humans hid fragments of our old power. This stone is one of them. It is not a weapon by itself, it is a key to wake the machines we once built. The chamber filled with gasps. The resistance members leaned forward, hungry for the truth. The father stared at the boy, unable to look away. Machines? He asked. What machines? The boy held the glowing stone against the cave wall. The light spread across the rock and lines of blue began to appear, stretching into shapes. At first they looked like random patterns, but soon the father realized they were drawings, ancient carvings hidden in the stone. The images showed tall towers reaching for the sky, ships flying between stars, and humans standing proud with fire in their hands. The father's heart pounded as he stared. It was proof. Proof that humans had once been mighty. Proof that the outsiders had lied. The daughter touched the glowing lines with her small fingers. We built this? She whispered. Yes, the boy said softly. And we can build again. The mother shook her head in disbelief. But the outsiders? Their machines are everywhere. Their drones see everything. How can humans rise against them? Marin's voice was steady. Because they fear us. If they were as strong as they pretend, they would not need to watch us every hour. They would not need to punish kindness or control food. They are afraid of what happens when humans remember the truth. That is why they silence us. That is why they burn villages. Not because we are weak, but because they know we are not. The chamber grew quiet again. The truth settled like fire in their hearts. For the first time in years, the father did not feel like prey. He felt like something more, something waiting to wake. But the boy's face darkened. There is danger. The outsiders know about these stones. They hunt them. Every time one is used, they sense it. That is why the drones came tonight. They will not stop until every piece is destroyed, and every human who carries them is gone. The mother shivered, pulling her daughter closer. Then what hope is there? If they know, if they are coming, what can we do? The boy held the stone higher. We do what humans always did best. We protect each other. We share, we remember. And when the time comes, we fight. The father clenched his fists. His fear had not vanished, but it no longer controlled him. Then teach us, he said. Teach us how to use it. If humans once had power, let us learn it again. Marin's old eyes glowed in the blue light. You speak like a free man. That is the beginning. And beginnings grow. The boy placed the stone in the center of the chamber. The light spread wider, filling every crack, every shadow. The humans in the cave drew closer, standing shoulder to shoulder. For the first time in years, they felt less like survivors and more like a people. Outside, the watchers circled, their red eyes still searching. But inside the earth, something stronger than fear was rising. The truth had been revealed, and the outsiders would soon discover what that meant. The cave glowed like a star hidden beneath the earth. The blue-white light of the stone filled the chamber, washing away shadows and fear. For the first time in years, the humans gathered there felt something powerful, something greater than survival. They felt hope. The father stood among them, his hand resting on his daughter's shoulder. He had always believed he was just a farmer, a man who tilled soil and obeyed rules. But tonight, as he looked at the stone and the faces around him, he realized something had changed. He was no longer only a farmer. He was part of something far larger. Marin, the old man, lifted his voice. "This is not the end," he said firmly. "This is the beginning. For too long we have hidden in shadows. We have whispered about freedom but never dared to claim it. But now we have proof that humans were once more than slaves, proof that we can rise again." The chamber erupted with murmurs of agreement. Some faces still showed fear, but most burned with new fire. The oldest boy stepped forward, holding the stone carefully in both hands. Its glow reflected in his tired eyes. "The outsiders will come for us. They always do, but we must not fear them. Tonight, this stone has reminded us who we are. The outsiders rule with machines and hunger, but humans are not machines. Humans share, humans protect, humans stand together. That is what they fear." The daughter's voice rose suddenly, small but clear. "When the children asked for leftovers, we gave them." That was the start. The room grew silent. All eyes turned to the little girl. She did not shrink from their gaze. Instead, she spoke louder, her words innocent but strong. They said kindness is dangerous. Then let kindness be our weapon. If we share food, if we help each other, they cannot stop all of us. The mother's eyes filled with tears. She kissed her daughter's hair and whispered, "Out of the mouths of children comes truth." Marin raised his hand. "The girl is right. Every act of kindness weakens their grip. Tonight it was leftovers. Tomorrow it may be shelter. And soon it will be defiance. That is how empires fall. Not with one blow, but with 1,000 sparks of courage." The father felt pride swell in his chest. He looked at the boy with the stone. "What do we do now?" The boy's answer was simple. "We prepare. We gather. We remember. And when the time is right, we strike." The cave filled with a quiet strength. Plans were whispered. Families pledged to share food, to hide the hunted, to pass the truth from ear to ear. Fear still lingered, but now it lived beside determination. Above the hills, the watchers circled. Their red lights stabbed the night searching, but they did not find the humans hidden below. To them, the colony looked broken, silent, punished. But in truth, something far greater had been born beneath their very feet. The father looked at his wife and daughter. He remembered the moment at the table when 3 hungry children had knocked on the door. He remembered his hesitation, his fear, how close he had come to turning them away. If he had, the stone would never have shone in his hands and this spark would never have begun. He whispered to himself, "One choice changes everything." The daughter squeezed his hand. "Papa, are we going to win?" He did not answer right away. He looked at the stone, at Marin, at the faces of the resistance. Then he bent down to his daughter's level, his voice steady. "If we stand together, yes. One day humans will rise again." The boy placed the stone back in his pocket. The glow dimmed, but the fire it had lit in the humans did not fade. It would not fade. Outside, the sky burned red with the anger of the outsiders. They thought they had crushed rebellion, thought they had silenced hope. But they were wrong. Tonight, in a cave beneath the hills, humans had remembered who they were, and when humans remember, no empire lasts forever. This was not the end of their story. This was the beginning of everything.